the Stein line, reported that the Hawks, who are looking for a new president of basketball operations, have interest in trying to hire Masai, but it's not clear, according to league sources, whether they have a shot at prying Masai away from Toronto. And it was also reported that they had pursued Bob Myers without success
Not
already.
Bob Myers of the blame pod.
And they've already approached various top agents to gauge their interest in the job, including Giannis's agent.
Mm.
So yeah, thoughts on this Masai to Atlanta rumor report that is out there?
Well, okay. I think a couple things. I think from Atlanta's perspective, if you're going to canvass the league and look at who are the top executives who aren't necessarily locked down long term, Masai's got to come up at the top of your list, right? Masai's contract's over in 2026. There has not been at least public news reporting or anything like that, speculation on him getting an extension. I think we're just kind of hoping that he does, and then we're just going to accept it as fate that something will be worked out this summer. But the contract is what it is, right? He re-signed in 2021. That was already a pretty not contentious necessarily, but let's say it was like a widely reported debate. It wasn't just like done like behind closed doors and everything was all smooth and it's an easy handshake and you just get the deal done, right? Like it did play off a little bit publicly. Obviously, there was that big story from Doug Smith in the Toronto Star where they detailed some of the sort of disagreements that Ed Rogers had with Masai. Obviously, the Rogers is going to be taking over the majority of MLSC. Soon, I think, starting next season. So, like, you can potentially point some of the pieces together. And I think if you're Atlanta, again, you would look at it as like, well, he's not locked up. So why don't I make a call? Why don't I, do something? So I think that's totally fair from Atlanta's perspective. I think from Toronto's perspective, which is what we all really care about, I think I think what I'm hoping for, and I don't have inside knowledge on this, but what I'm hoping for is that this is one of the things that maybe helps Masai get a little leverage in terms of those contract extensions. I feel like Masai settled here. I think that he's talked so much about how much he wants to win another championship. He wants to bring it here in Toronto. He talked about how he didn't fully because of the circumstances with Kawhi's free agency and also with him getting racially profiled as the Raptors won Game 6 in 2019, that like people that he didn't fully enjoy it, and I really want him to be able to, and I really believe him, I guess, when he says that that's his burning desire to bring it back here in Toronto. I think in the last year or so, he actually has done a pretty good job of managing the team. Maybe in the last couple years, again, you can really debate what really went wrong. But I thought in the last year, between the draft with getting four, pretty good players in that rookie class, maybe five with Ulrich if he turns out well. I thought the Brandon Ingram trade was good. I think he extended and locked up players on this team that are young and have a positive value in this league. Like those decisions were good. And yes, he tried to tank. The Raptors didn't get lucky in the lottery and they ended up ninth. But like I still don't think necessarily that they could have done more, considering the fact that the team that ultimately won it was the Dallas Mavericks with 1.8%. So you can't even say he couldn't have tanked harder because tanking harder would have just done nothing really.
That's
for the
my
team.
laptop battery right now.
So
Just kidding, man.
I think in Masai's case, like I'm hoping that something like this coming out through a trusted reporter in Marc Stein helps his case in renegotiation talks, because as much as we would like to think that it will just be as simple as he goes and says, hey, this is my plan, do you agree with it, this is what I want money wise, do you agree with it, and it's a handshake deal done before behind closed doors and it's easy and smooth. I think that Masai, as any good negotiator, realizes that the more leverage you have, hopefully that means the more position you're able to sort of take away from the person you're negotiating against. So I'm hoping that this is more just a leverage play rather than like a genuine situation where he actually is uncertain and he is looking to be poached potentially by Atlanta. I think Atlanta, honestly, if Masai left, Atlanta is not a better situation than Toronto, with all due respect. I think Toronto has certainly, not just assisted, but I think like openly supported his charitable causes, which we know are really, really important to Masai himself. And it's a mission beyond just the actual management of the NBA team here in Toronto. And I think that they've always backed him on that, which I think is a good thing. They've given him the time off in the off seasons to sort of devote his energy there as well. And I think the most important thing is just like Masai also did say, kind of really slyly in the end of season press conference, if you go back and listen to it, there was one stretch where he was asked, I think by Doug Smith, are you going to be looking to extend your staff? And he said he's going to look to extend everybody, Bobby, Dan Tolzman, his whole staff. So
We asked Darko yesterday. He expects his staff to be all back. Your management team with Dan, Bobby. Do you need to augment that, or do you expect them all to be back on their same jobs?
100%, and I'm working on it now.
So extend Bobby.
All of them, everybody. Yeah, it's a focus for me.
Assuming that's already been done, and if that was successful and the Raptors were able to, lock up his assistants, then at that point, why would he leave? Because he would be leaving to start over. I don't think when you're in what Masai's position, you're looking to go to, all due respect, but a weaker franchise in Atlanta without your main guys who you've now re-signed here in Toronto. And it's not like it's a promotion for him either, right? So,
and
that's what I'm hoping for.
And I think, like you said too, I don't think Masai's given any indication in the way that he's talked that he's looking to leave, right? Like, I think all indications are that he wants to see this part of the rebuilding process and getting back to being a contender through. It is interesting too, like you mentioned, like, I don't think, he's not going to go anywhere where he's going to have the same kind of stature and the ability to do the things that he wants to do in Toronto. Now, that might change with the ownership changes, and that might be the one thing that might push him to look elsewhere. But I'm kind of with you. I think Masai wants to stay, and if he were to leave, it would just be because of some kind of falling out or change in the structure of the ownership that kind of forces him to look at things differently. Because like, he's not going to find a better situation than this, like, for himself, the way that he has it right now here.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I think when the last time he was negotiating a contract, like, he had just gotten the Raptors a championship. What more leverage can you possibly have? His profile was at an all-time high. He made an all-time trade. And his franchise, I mean, everybody, that was been a riot there would have been a protest outside of, like, where's MLSE offices, like 50 Bay. Yeah, people would have been, there would have been, like, we would have to push all the scalpers aside and be like, we're protesting out here. I don't think that same energy exists right now. But at the same time, I think that, like, what he's actually done, at least with the team in the last year or so when they've really committed to the rebuild, I think those moves have been good. And I think from, I guess, the other Toronto perspective is, can the Raptors do better than somebody other than Masai's current team in place management-wise?
Yeah, no,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Like, I think this is just part leverage, and again, the key part.
I'm hoping, by the way, that's not reporting. I just really hope. Yeah.
And the key part of the reporting from Stein too is that there's no indication that there's interest from Masai's side, or how much they believe they're able to pry him away. We've seen this before, like interest from other teams, right? I know the Wizards was reported as the confetti. I guess there was no confetti falling, but like 5 minutes after the Raptors won the title, it was reported that the Wizards were going to go after Masai. Who else? I can't think of another team. Has other teams been linked to him like that directly?
I think Masai talked about it before, but he said an English Premier League team. I never gotten the answer of which team it was, but apparently, like, a Premier League team was maybe trying to, like, get Masai. I was like, yo, that'd been crazy. Like, that's actually that's like a real flex, man.
And I think a lot of people always echo this too. Is like, if Masai were to leave for her next job, it probably won't be a move to just be the president of basketball operations on another team.
And of the Hawks, like, I would understand maybe you're going to, like, go to the Spurs because you get to manage, like, Wemby, and maybe you get Giannis falling into your lap, after the draft goes in your favor every year. But, like, I don't feel like the Hawks is that, like, appealing of a situation. Like, it's not like ownership has been that stable. Well, it's not stable, but, like, they've changed management there a couple times. You know what I mean? It's not like a slam dunk situation. It's not like a huge premier market. I'm not even trying to slander Atlanta. Like, but I just feel like, for me, it doesn't seem like a step up. And who knows, man? I actually would. I think more than anything else too. Like, I have to admit my bias here in the sense that, like, I have grown really partial to Masai because I respect him tremendously as a person. I think there's very few people in sports where you actually just respect their, like, what they represent. And for me, I think we've been blessed here in Toronto. I think I respected that out of DeMar. I respected that out of Kyle. I respected that out of Fred. I respected that out of Pascal. And I think Masai for me is like one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like, more than anything else, the way he's spoken about it, I think I've seen. I follow a lot of the work that Giants of Africa has done. I don't think you do those things if you're not a quality person. And I think you can quibble with the moves. I think you even quibble with the management, which is totally fair. This is his job. We need to quibble with his management. That's his job. But, like, yeah, I think that like maybe he could have gotten more out of the OG situation. Maybe he could have gotten more out of the Pascal situation. Maybe you could have like there's all these what ifs. I'm not saying the Raptors have been like expertly managed in the last 5 years, but ultimately I still trust Masai, and I think for me that's where as a Raptor fan I would just want him to keep going.